Right. Two things to help you see the guitar a little more clearly and hopefully understand it a little bit better. All right. First things first, we're going to pick the B string and the G string. And that's going to be our picking pattern. B, G, B, G, B, G. Okay. We're going to start, we're going to fret behind the nut. Okay. B, G. Then we're going to go C, A. Okay. Then we're going to slide up. We're going to go D, B, E, C. Okay. Now we're going to stay here and we're going to start that pattern over again. So, okay. Now the whole thing together. And if we want to continue on, then we got to slide up and start in our next octave. Or we could do it like that. Okay? But if you notice, we have to skip that one fret. That's the only fret we don't play. Okay? Now another way to recognize where you're at, okay, is also the fact that if I know where my root is, what key I'm in, a C, I come up to D, 2 frets, I can fret all the way across. Then I come up 2 more frets, I can fret all the way across, okay? And if I know my minor, that's where I can fret all the way across because it's A minor, D minor, E minor in the key of C. Okay, so let's say we're in the key of A. Well, 2 frets is B. I can do that there. Okay, then I can slide up 2 more frets so I can bar all the way across. I know that G flat is my minor to that. Okay, and your minor is always 4 frets away, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now here's the other trick to it, okay? So we started here, right? B, G, C, okay? And we finished on C, right? But it was here too, is our C, okay? So if I can find my note on the B string that I want, say I'm doing G here, okay? So right, now I just did the key of G, okay? So same thing can be said for D. Okay? And then I would have to come up here and start again, right? So now if we know chords as we're walking through, then we can transpose that and we can do the same thing and we can understand how things start getting put together a little more clearly, okay? So hopefully that kind of makes sense, and you'll get to see it after a bit, but yeah, that's pretty much that for the first part. Now the second thing, I know I've done it in another video, so I'll do it again because it kind of relates to this, in the simple fact that, okay, how does things overlap, right? Well, it's really simple. All your chords continue to overlap until they come back upon themselves in the circle. The scales do the same thing, overlap, and come back to the original scale. You'll go from key to key to key to key to key and come back, okay? The same thing on a string. You can, eventually you're going to start over. You're going to be in a different spot. You're going to be higher, but you're going to come back to yourself, okay? So the scale that you need to know, it's one position. You need to know one scale to practice all keys, okay? And we'll go over this right now. I'll walk through it here. We're going to come up to 8, okay, on the E string, and we're going to do 10 on the E, okay? Then we're going to do on 7 on the 5th string, then 8, 10. Then drop to the 4th, 7, 9, 10, okay? C major scale. Okay? Now we're going to continue on. We're going to take the second half. Okay, we did the bottom 3 strings, right? Now we're going to do the top strings. Okay? So it's D, E, G flat, G, A, B, D flat, D. Okay? We just did a D scale. Okay? So let me run through the whole thing. Now there's one thing in between, okay? This is where the circle of fifths come in. This is where your chords start overlapping, your scales overlap. Everything starts to mesh, okay, in the web, right? So we do a C scale, then we start on the next note, we do a D major scale, okay? But in between, we have our G scale, okay? So let me rewind. C scale, but pause, okay? Now, start with the G. G, A, B, C, D, E, G flat, G. Okay? Okay, it was hidden in between, right? So what I just did was a C, a G, and a D, right? So I did my 4, 1, 5, okay? And I'll add another thing too. We'll make it 3 things, okay? Since we're just got into the 4, 1, 5, okay? So there's that, right? Now, there's your scale, okay? So there's a couple ways you can do this then here. Just go here, that's my A note. Now I gotta start here, okay? Or you can always go to the minor of where you just started. So if I start here on C, my next one's gonna be here, okay? Now my next starting point from there in this scale would go down the 4 to the minor, okay? And then what's the minor of G flat? E flat, okay? E flat is C, is A, is G flat, is E flat, C, A, okay? So I just did 4 spots. Okay, I just did 4 spots, 1 scale, 3 keys in each spot, okay? So that means 3, 6, 9, 12. So I just covered all 12 keys in 4 spots using 1 scale. That covers 3 keys, okay? So now I slide down a half a fret and I do the same thing. Right? And I continue to do that, okay? So now I can do that a total of 3 times. Once, slide it down a half step from my starting point, do it again, slide down a half step, do it again, slide down half step, and I'm back to where I started here, okay? So you're also taking part in the diminished, okay? Now going back to the 4, 1, 5, okay? Here's another thing. Let's see here. Let's do 4, C, G, D, okay? So our major shape is here. Okay? And here, which is our bar, our A shape, right? So we're gonna do our E shape, our D shape, and then our A shape. We finish on our A shape, we're gonna slide it down 2 frets. Okay, A shape, E shape, then our D shape on D. Okay, so that's your progression. E shape, D shape, A shape. Okay, and then what you finish on, slide down 2 whole frets. So let's go up here. C, G, D. I finish on my E shape. I'm going to slide it down. E shape, D shape, A shape. Then A shape, E shape, D shape. D shape, A shape, E shape. Okay? So now you can do your 4, 1, 5 that way. Okay? You got your 4, 1, 5 that way. Okay? You've also got so now if you remember that whole thing, okay, you can recognize where that's at. If you recognize that this is my starting point, my key, this is my pattern, okay, and then to get to my octave I start here. Now you can also do it like that, do your skip here. So it really depends on how you want to look at it, okay? But if you can start to see that and understand that, hopefully it'll help you reach new heights in your playing. So anyways, yeah, keep on rocking.